How independent men actually live after 50. Most men think independence is something you either have or you don't. Independent men know that isn't true. They know independence is built into how you live your day, not into big speeches, not into big plans, into small, repeated behaviors. If you do the behaviors, you keep your options. If you stop doing them, well, your options, they shrink. That is the whole game after 50. Here's what choosing independence actually looks like. Independent men start the day by moving on purpose. They do not wait until they feel stiff. They move before the first long sit of the day. They treat morning movement like brushing teeth. It is maintenance, not motivation. They walk early, even if it is only 10 minutes. They're not walking to do cardio. They're walking to wake up the hips, the ankles, and the spine. They're walking to keep stride and balance automatic. They're walking to remind the body that it is still needed. They keep a simple rule. No day goes by without some walking. If the weather is bad, they walk inside. If the schedule is kind of tight, they walk in chunks. If energy is low, they walk slower, but they still walk. Independent men build anti-convenience into normal life. They carry their own bags when it is reasonable. They load and unload groceries without outsourcing it. They choose stairs when it makes sense. They park a little further on purpose. They stand up for phone calls. They take 2 minutes to stretch between long sits. They do not do these things to suffer. They do these things to keep the body honest. Independent men train strength for usefulness, not ego. They keep the basics. They push, they pull, they hinge, they squat, they carry. They do not need fancy programs to stay capable. They need consistent practice of the patterns that show up in life. They focus on control. They use weights they can own with clean form. They stop doing the set before the form breaks down. They respect the joints. They respect tendons. They respect recovery. They do not chase soreness. They chase repeatability. Independent men keep a minimum strength standard. They want to be able to get up from the floor without help. They want to be able to carry a suitcase without injury. They want to be able to lift a box into a truck bed. They want to be able to do a few solid push-ups. They want to be able to do a controlled squat to a chair. Those are not gym goals. They are independence goals. Independent men protect their joints by using full ranges of motion. They do not avoid a movement just because it feels tight. They treat tightness as a message. They open their range gently. They practice reaching overhead. They practice rotating the upper back. They practice hips moving forward and back. They practice ankles bending and extending. They do small mobility work every single day. They don't wait for pain to force them into stretching. They keep the joints usable before they become fragile. Independent men train balance like insurance. They do not wait until balance is an issue. They practice standing on one leg while brushing their teeth. They walk heel to toe down a hallway. They do slow step-ups. They turn a change direction under control. They practice catching themselves. They do it calmly. They do it consistently. They understand that falls are not bad luck. Falls are often slow reactions plus weak stabilizers. Independent men keep stabilizers strong. They strengthen hips, they strengthen glutes, they strengthen calves, they strengthen the muscles that keep the knees tracking well. They do not ignore the little muscles. They know the little muscles keep the big muscles usable. Independent men manage sitting like it is a risk factor. They sit, but they don't live in a chair. They break up sitting every 30 to 60 minutes. They stand, they walk, they move the joints, they do a few body weight reps. They treat long stillness like rust. Rust builds when you do nothing. Movement is the oil. Independent men eat in a way that supports capability. They do not eat like a teenager and expect an adult body. They prioritize protein so muscle has what it needs. They keep processed junk low or at zero because it wrecks appetite and energy. They keep sugar and alcohol minimal because recovery matters. They don't need perfect diets. They need repeatable habits that keep energy stable. Independent men sleep like it is training. They do not treat sleep as optional. They know recovery is where the body repairs. They protect a consistent bedtime. They keep the room dark. They cut screens down before bed when they can. They wake up with enough energy to move again. Independent men use pain as information, not as a verdict. They do not ignore sharp pain. They do not panic at minor soreness. They adjust, they scale, they choose smarter versions of the same movement. They stay in the game. They do not quit because something feels off. They do not go all in or nothing. They keep momentum. Independent men keep a simple weekly structure. They lift 2 to 4 times. They walk most days. They do mobility almost daily. They do a little balance work. They do not need perfection. They need consistency over months and years. Independent men prepare for the unexpected. They do carries because real life requires carrying. They do step-ups because real life has stairs. They do hinges because real life has picking things up. They do rotations because real life has twisting and reaching. They train what life will ask for. Independent men make independence visible in the home. They keep a pull-up bar or bands where they will see them. They keep a kettlebell or dumbbells accessible. They keep walking shoes ready. They reduce friction. They make the right choice the easy choice. Independent men measure the right things. They do not obsess over scale weight alone. They notice how stairs feel. They notice how hips feel getting out of a car. They notice how fast they recover after a long walk. They notice whether they can move without warming up forever. They measure function. Function is the scoreboard. Independent men understand the real enemy. The real enemy is not age. The enemy is drift. Drift is when you stop doing the basics and tell yourself it is fine. Drift is when convenience becomes default. Drift is when you say, I'll start next week. Independent men do not wait for Monday. They do something today. They cast a vote for capability today. Independent men also protect their mindset. They do not talk themselves into fragility. They don't say, I'm too old for that. They say, I need to train that. They see limits as skills to rebuild, not identities to accept. They choose a standard. They choose it daily. Here's a simple independent standard you can steal. Move every morning for 10 minutes. Walk every day, even if it is short. Strength train 2 to 3 days per week. Do 5 minutes of mobility most days. Practice balance a few minutes each week. Break up long sittings. Keep protein high and junk low. Sleep like it matters. That isn't complicated. It is just not negotiable. If you do that for 6 months, your body changes. If you do that for a year, your life changes. Independence becomes durable. You move with confidence again. You say yes more often. You stop negotiating with stairs, floors, or long walks. That is what making the clock tick longer actually looks like. Not miracles, not hacks, daily standards. If staying capable, mobile, and independent matters to you as you age, like it does for me at 50, almost 58, this channel is built for you. If this video resonates, I pinned a comment below with the next video you should watch.